everyone, and welcome into Bears Blitz, brought to you by IGS Energy. If you are going to the game on Sunday, I hope you got all your cold weather gear. We are preparing for wind chills as low as 20 degrees below zero. That was like a pity pat right there.
Oh, I feel so
Lou gets
bad.
to be inside. Big Ant, who's in Baltimore right now, he's going to be on the call for Army Navy for Sirius XM tomorrow. He's going to be enjoying this nice warm studio, and I guess drew the short straw for this one. But
No,
we'll be
you know
covered.
what? I'm going to be a real man. You know what? You can host the show with Big A, and I'll go outside for you.
No, I know you. You wouldn't survive. There's no chance you would survive.
I am saying that on TV.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll gladly take that assignment for the day. Hey, the weather's going to be no excuse. It's going to be one of the coldest games in Soldier Field history, but the Bears, they need their 10th win of the season against the Browns on Sunday, Lou.
They sure do. I'll tell you what. They need 11 wins to get into the playoffs, maybe even 12. No 11-win team has ever been kept out of the playoffs. Seattle had 10 wins last year. This is a must-win for the Bears. And you know what, Bears? Guess what? Cleveland has come to Soldier Field 4 times since we opened Soldier Field and lost all 4 of those games. The last time the Browns won in Chicago, Wrigley Field, 1969, and Gale Sayers ran for 126 yards. Ooh. It better not happen on Sunday.
I feel like that's a method for Sunday as well. Just run the ball. Hey, Big Ant, how much does weather actually affect players in cold weather games like this?
The good thing is, Cass, when the temperature drops, you can run longer. Your body just doesn't shut down as quickly as it does when it's hot, and especially when it's humid outside. But one thing that can tend to happen for the guys who handle the football on a regular basis, the fingers of center Drew Dahlman are going to likely be very numb as you get into the game a bit. And quarterback Caleb Williams, we heard Tom Brady talking about it on last week's broadcast, just the different techniques, the tactics you try to use to keep that passing hand warmed up throughout. So, yes, Caleb is from a cold weather climate, not too far from where I sit at this moment right here. So he should be accustomed to it, but it certainly affects those who handle the rock.
Yeah, Caleb Williams said actually the cold weather does not bother him at all once he's in the game. Now, the Bears did have an emotional loss to the Packers last week. They will face them again in a week, but sandwiched in between them is this 3-win Browns team, making what for some may consider a trap game, but the Bears know they can't take them lightly as they push to make the playoffs.
It's just that awareness that every game matters. Every game matters. And that's where this week, you go from an emotional rivalry game like we just played. This week is equally important. We need this win. We desperately need this win.
Especially with this year with the NFC, it's going to take 11 games to get in my opinion. And with the amount of good, really talented teams in the NFC, 10 wins, I don't think is going to get it done. I think last year Seattle had 10 wins and didn't get in. I think it's going to be the same thing this year. So I think just understanding that.
It's the only focus we're on right now is Cleveland. It's the only game we have any control over. So our sole focus is on these guys, and it's a laser focus this week.
So the Bears are well aware that they need to find 2 wins to get into the playoffs. But as Kevin Byard said he doesn't believe that momentum carries over from week to week. He actually believes that it carries over from the start of the week on Monday and the way the team prepares all the way into Sunday. And you look at this Browns defense in particular, being the 2nd-ranked overall defense, and you can't overlook the players they have there with the #1 passing defense as the Bears passing game tries to find some more rhythm and continuity. And namely, Myles Garrett, who has 20 sacks right now and is 3 sacks away from setting a new single-season sack record going up against a rookie in Ozzie Trapillo.
One of the best pass rushers of this generation. And let's talk about Trapillo for a second, because he started at left tackle in that game against Pittsburgh, and he gave up 1 quarterback pressure and 65 snaps against T.J. Watt. Listen, this Bears team has faced some of the best pass rushers in football. Max Crosby in Las Vegas, T.J. Watt, that blitzing Minnesota Vikings defense, Giants, their defensive line, Aiden Hutchinson. They're used to this. And if I'm Dan Rashar, I have schemed a way to help out Trapillo again so Myles Garrett doesn't have his way with this Bears offensive line.
Lou, or I should say Big Ant, when Ben Johnson was talking about Myles Garrett, he said if you leave him one-on-one, he's essentially unblockable in pass protection. So how do you scheme up against him?
One of the things the Browns end up doing schematically is they find a way to move Myles Garrett around. He's not going to be a guy who rushes over the center as a nose, but you'll see him occasionally work over either guard, but especially over either offensive tackle. They can move him from the right edge to the left edge, and he's equally effective from either side. The right defensive end position, I would say, is his best, but he can rush effectively from the left side also. And the cat and mouse game that gets played pre-snap is going to be kind of fun to watch, because there's times where you're trying to set the pass protection to track where Myles Garrett lines up so you can make sure he's consistently occupied with perhaps 2, maybe even at times 3 blockers at various points throughout the snap, even utilizing the alignment of tight ends and wide receivers who aren't necessarily going to put hands on Myles Garrett, but align tighter to the tackle box so he at least has to respect them, or maybe even widen his alignment out that much more. So there's a lot that's going to happen that's going to impact the way that the Bears want to make sure you leave Myles Garrett one-on-one, frankly, with either offensive tackle, whether you're talking Isaac Trapillo or even Darnell Wright. As talented as Darnell Wright is, he's not Trent Williams. And Myles Garrett was able to get to the quarterback when he faced the San Francisco 49ers pretty frequently as well.
Yeah, as Caleb Williams said, he's like, just please don't let it happen, setting that single-season sack record against the Bears. And I think you'd be a little bit more concerned a year ago, but you do have to compliment the way this offensive line is playing this season. I think you look at the elements, and we were talking about just how cold it's going to be, and then I think you look at what happened last week when the Browns played the Titans, and the Titans rushed for 184 yards on the ground. And the Bears kind of admitted that they're going to take a page from the Titans' book, and that could be part of their game plan going into it, knowing that they do have the second-ranked rushing offense in the league. Lou.
Well, Tony Pollard had his way running the football against this Browns defense, and he had 2 big runs, which really caught my eye. One for 65 yards, one for 32 yards. I had on one of the talk show hosts, Anthony Lima from 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, earlier this week on Chicago Sports Tonight. And I asked Anthony about running right at Myles Garrett, and he said that Garrett lined up wider than usual last week because he's taking some heat in Cleveland. Some Browns fans and talk show hosts feeling like Garrett is more worried about going out and getting the sacks record instead of defending the run.
They have 3 wins. Right at him. They have 3 wins. I imagine an elite player playing like that. I mean, maybe the team is looking for that for him too, if I had to guess.
But what it does is, and Big A, please chime in, it gives the opposition the opportunity to run right at him, especially between the tackles, and take advantage of Garrett lining up wider than usual because he wants to get to the quarterback.
And, to be fair, because I think from an alignment perspective, it's definitely a fair observation. But Myles Garrett isn't the type of player, and he's not the type of teammate, frankly, that goes out and freelances that much in his alignment and assignment. Now, his physical tools, he's able to. Maybe he'll take an inside path on a pass rush move with the confidence that he can still recover and keep contained with that when that's his assignment on a particular snap. But aligning wider and wider, we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers doing that with T.J. Watt at times. We saw, you even have some of the other great pass rushers who the Bears have faced, like Micah Parsons and others. Aiden Hutchinson at times. We term it as a wide 9 technique. When you line up outside the tight end position, that's thought of as the 9 gap. So it's a wide 9 that the formation can frequently have Myles Garrett aligning up to. And the further you get him away from the quarterback, for him as a pass rusher, for myself as an old defensive end, you can get that offensive tackle on an island where there's more space for you to operate. And I do think the Bears, you're going to see them try to utilize some of those formations because it can end up enhancing the cutback lane that's available. And with both the inside and the stretch zone run scheme in Ben Johnson's offense, that can provide the cutback lane that both running backs have really been able to exploit.
All right, the Bears have played in so many close games this season. I've lost track of the number at this point. And I think right now you're looking at the Browns, and this should be a game and a team that they put away early in this game. But at the start of the season, the Bears did a really good job of getting off to fast starts. Over the last 4 weeks, they're in the bottom half of points in the first quarter and ranked 31st in pass yards in that first frame. I think you're looking at Caleb Williams right now. Over the last 4 games, he has a 38.5% completion percentage in that first quarter. Is this something that you feel like the coach coaches can coach, or does this need to come out of Caleb Williams to find those completions early and set the tone?
I think it needs to come out of Caleb Williams. I'd hate to see them change things up, get into the 2-minute drill to open the football game, especially in a game like Sunday's where the temperature is going to be potentially 20 below zero. The ball's going to be literally like a rock out there. And we just got done talking about the Bears should run the football, not throw it all over the yard just to get Caleb Williams hot and lathered up so he feels more comfortable out there. Another thing that I looked into the numbers, Cassie, the Bears haven't scored on that first drive since November 2nd against Cincinnati, but they've scored on their second drive in 4 of the last 6 weeks. So while, yes, they have struggled in the first quarter of games lately over the last 4 weeks, as Cassie referenced, I'm not sure you just start throwing it all over the yard on Sunday with temperatures below 20 just to get him going.
And the first-ranked pass defense, Ant.
And when you think about what the Browns defense is right now, Myles Garrett isn't alone out there. His 20 sacks aren't the only reason that they've been one of the top quarterback sacking units in the sport. You know, I talked to you guys a lot about Mason Graham going into the draft process last year. He's playing really well on the interior of that defense. Carson Schlesinger is a linebacker, one of the top rookie linebackers in the sport this season. So there's a lot for the Bears to have to contend with here. We haven't even gotten to the Browns' offensive side of the football and some of the new life breathed in there. So game plan-wise, I certainly think your point, Cass, is one that the Bears can't go in and take this team lightly at all. It would certainly be nice for them to go out and dominate. But when the Bears have been at their most dominant, it's been utilizing the ground attack to set up play-action opportunities. And for Caleb Williams himself, whether that's getting him on the move, setting up some quick game early so you do have some confidence in the way he's throwing the football. It's one of the things that I think has gone underappreciated about what he's been as a second-year quarterback first year in this Ben Johnson system. The amount of time Ben Johnson has had Caleb Williams under center and as effective as he's been with the play-action game, that's going to continue to be a huge weapon.
All right, really quickly for both of you, Rome Odunze was back on the practice field. He's going to be questionable with that foot injury that kept him out last week. I think when he was out, we all thought, well, DJ Moore surely is going to get more targets. Instead, a career-low 1 catch on 3 targets for -4 yards. And Ben Johnson talked on Friday saying, of course he would like to get the ball to DJ Moore even more. But how do you feel like the Bears can utilize him differently or maybe better in the passing game to get him more targets and more catches?
Why not script plays at the beginning of the game to get DJ Moore the football? Listen, this guy's put up career numbers as a member of the Bears. And right now, if he doesn't have 300 yards receiving over these last 4 games, he'll be dealing with the worst output of his career this season. He's better than that. He has not lost a step. This is not where this wide receiver's career is going to die. They need to get DJ Moore the football. Listen, he's paid a lot of money right now by this team, $24 million a season. He's got a cap hit of over $28 million. I've listened to enough sports talk in this city where they say, well, we'll just trade him because we've got Luther Burden III, Colston Loveland, Rome Odunze. It's not easy to trade a guy with a $28 million cap hit.
No way. You do not trade DJ Moore. I completely agree. The passing attack, as it continues to grow, as Caleb Williams within the Ben Johnson system continues to become more consistent, there's just going to be more opportunities to get DJ Moore the football. It was surprising without Rome Odunze in the lineup last week that DJ didn't see it more frequently, but one of the things that Ben Johnson's offense does is set up opportunities where one playmaker is used as a bit of a decoy and set up opportunities for others. So DJ Moore in motion, DJ Moore as a ball carrier, we're going to continue to see all those skills utilized. And as the entire offense grows, then DJ Moore's touches and opportunities will continue to enhance.
Yeah, and Big Ant, Ben Johnson actually pointed that out on Friday, saying the shifts in motions is something that Caleb Williams is not used to, and they added even more after the bye week. And so that's part of why this passing game may look like it's taken a step back, but he believes that they're going to stick to whatever it takes to win a game. They're not going to just dial down that number because he can't handle it. They want to make sure that this is a continual process as he continues to develop over years to come.
Like I said, I think he's really good at playing on time. He's very accurate. We all knew that coming out of college, and I think he's just getting more comfortable within not only just the offense, but just being an NFL quarterback. And I'm expecting to continue to take that next step this week. So it's not just because he's a rookie does not mean we can take this guy lightly. He's very talented.
And I see a guy that plays with, a little bit of a swagger. He's got a little moxie to him. I think he brings a little bit of excitement to that football team. And I think what you've seen is each week, he's gotten a little bit better. In some tough conditions last week, I thought he played really well.
Giving up explosives was the name of the game for the Bears defense last week in Green Bay, and knowing they have to do a better job executing this week as they welcome in the Browns. Rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders was the first Browns QB to throw for more than 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns, and have a rushing touchdown since 1950. But you look at him, he is still a rookie. So if you're this Bears defense, you tried to blitz Jordan Love last week. It didn't really work because he's really good against the blitz. Do you try to blitz again against this rookie quarterback, Lou?
Bring the house. Bring the house. 60-70% of the time in this game. I want Dennis Allen. He's 20 years in this league in the NFL. He's dealt with rookie quarterbacks. He's dealt with veteran quarterbacks like former Brown Joe Flacco. Confuse the kid. I think it's possible. I respect what he did last week against Tennessee, but this is a more veteran Bears defense than what he saw in Tennessee last week. The Bears had film to see what he did well last week, and I want them to go after him. I get it. Jordan Love, really good against the blitz. They learned their lesson. He's no Jordan Love.
He's certainly not, and he's got a tendency to hold the football, and that was part of the resume of Shedeur Sanders in college as well. It's occasionally led to some big plays in his time in the NFL because he's been remarkably impressive in that regard. But that being said, it can also lead to sacks. And the Bears, because their front four, their pass rush from the down linemen, just hasn't been effective this season. It's certainly not consistently. That's where, to be able to bring the blitz situationally, I do think is a part of what Dennis Allen is likely to do. But that being said, I don't think you need to over blitz. To have a young quarterback be confused, be uncertain, to not really know for sure from one snap to the next what he'll see, then that's a part of the process here too. And, the Bears have been able to intercept the football at a really high level, not solely based off of their blitz package. We see the way that they can utilize coverage and the ability to pattern match with some anticipation. Kevin Byard, exceptional in that regard. We've seen linebackers getting it done in that phase as well. And even when they move the front, if they're not actually getting QB hits, I do think we'll see some movement of the D-line that predetermines the direction Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback is very likely to evacuate the pocket, and then you can utilize coverage to relate your route recognition off of where you move the front to. So I think this is a week where Dennis Allen matches his front games with his coverage, even if it doesn't lead to sacks.
Yeah, and you look at the Browns, too. They also have a banged-up offensive line, and I think you look at their injury report, it kind of reminds you and brings up some bad memories of what the Bears injury report looked like in the middle of the season. They're kind of piecemealing that together. And, Big Ant, when you mention all these takeaways that this Bears defense is getting, they're really relying on them because they're 8-0 and they have 2+ takeaways in a game. They're 1-4 with 1 or less, and I think you saw that kind of like living proof last week in Green Bay because you pick off Jordan Love and you can't convert any points on it. And then the defense just couldn't stop the nosebleed of stopping these drives by this Green Bay offense. So when you look at the Browns, and I think Shedeur Sanders right now, you look at the game he just had, but they have a lot of weapons too. Jerry Jeudy, Fannin, who's a tight end that we're going to talk about in a little bit. You can't just look at him as a rookie because he does have weapons that he can get the ball to and make some big plays.
Well, the Bears, as Anthony referenced, they need to get to the quarterback with their front four, something they haven't been able to do. Myles Garrett has almost as many sacks as the entire Bears team. That's the kind of lack of success the Bears have had at getting at the quarterback. So I think that they need help to get to the quarterback. You're right. 4 of their 5 starters on the offensive line are out with injuries, so they could have Shedeur Sanders running for his life in this game if finally they can put pressure on him and bring some help from the secondary. Big A?
And guys, the way that they've operated offensively, there is new life that Shedeur Sanders has infused into this football team. And it's a team that's really hasn't had a lot of belief in how they're operating there. That can be a really dangerous thing for the Bears to encounter this week because the Browns have a rabid fan base, and you guys were talking about the media there in Cleveland. Now there is some positivity around the team because Shedeur Sanders was such a lightning rod, and he's been able to step into the lineup in recent weeks. And one of the things he's done better than any other quarterback, even when Joe Flacco was in for a stretch early in the season, Shedeur Sanders is a big game hunter as a quarterback. He doesn't have the arm strength that Caleb Williams does, but stylistically, there's some things that are very similar in his willingness to extend the play. And when he does, he's trying to go for strike opportunities. And some of those playmakers that Cassie referenced, he's willing to give them chances one-on-one to try to make big plays in contested scenarios. And so the Bears defense is going to be under attack at times. They've just got to make sure they seize the opportunities when they're given.
Big Ed, I want to go back to you. If you're Dennis Allen and we saw some of the tackling issues that happened in Green Bay, how do you address that with your team knowing that someone like Jalen Johnson has admitted he's not 100% yet? You lose Kyler Gordon in pregame warmups. So you're dealing with some injuries with guys that are on the field or, you're down men because of the early injuries in pregame warmups. How do you address that within the room to make sure you strike the right chord?
Well, one thing I know about Dennis Allen, from having been in Atlanta with the Falcons with him for a couple of seasons, he's really in tune with the idea of continuing to stress fundamentals into the latter stages of the season. And I didn't really feel like, especially in the first half of that game against the Packers last week, I didn't think the Bears commanded the stage that well, and Green Bay was more the aggressor in that game. To me, this game has to be one where the Bears are the outfit applying the pressure, the physical pressure, the mental pressure. And that's where just continuing to stress fundamentals with tackling, with the proper fit in the run game, and as much as anything, being on your landmark against the pass, especially against the vertical pass, that's going to matter a lot because we haven't seen this defense be one that throughout the course of the season has really been prone to a lot of missed tackles. So I think that game last week against the Packers right now, I'm willing to view that as the outlier versus having that expectation moving forward, especially as guys like Jalen Johnson, TJ Edwards just kind of get into midseason form because they played such little football up until now.
Yeah, really, Jalen Johnson hasn't played much football the entire year. If we don't see Kyler Gordon, which it sounds like it's trending that way for the rest of the season, how big of a loss is that for this defense?
I think it's a huge loss. I mean, he's the highest paid nickelback in football, and he was paid that way because of the results that he gave this Bears defense last season and the last 2 years before that as well. I think a Jalen Johnson on the football field who's 70, 80% is better than a Nick McLeod. Nothing against Nick McLeod, who I think has filled in admirably for this defense while the Bears have gone through their injuries. But as Big A just referenced, I want Jalen Johnson on the football field now, working his way back into game shape. So come the Niners game, the Lions game, next week against the Packers, he's far closer to being 100%, TJ Edwards as well, instead of still trying to fit in and get conditioned where he feels comfortable out there on the field as well.
Yeah, they need him on the field. Tyreek Stevenson also back and healthy as well.
We don't always get the accolades and the glory, but we like things on our back, and we like to be the engine to the car and get this thing rolling. And I feel like we've done a great job. We have a great group. Joe, me, Drew, Darnell, Ozzie, Theo, everybody, and the reserves too. It's been great this year.
You can catch my full interview with Bears offensive lineman Jonah Jackson Sunday on Bears Game Day Live. Coverage starts at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday as we get you ready for Bears and Browns from what looks to be and will be a really cold afternoon at Soldier Field. It is time for our key matchup presented by Blue Moon. When we talk about rookie tight ends, usually you hear of Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, but third-round pick Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green is second in receiving yards among rookie tight ends this season and has become the Browns' leader in receptions and receiving yards. Kevin Byard, who's playing at a high level with a league-leading 6 interceptions, will have his work cut out for him on the back end of the Bears defense.
Hey, Big A, let me ask you about Kevin Byard. I want to look ahead to next year because there's already been some chatter about which defensive backs do the Bears keep. Byard's going to be a free agent. Nashawn Wright's going to be a free agent. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is here on a 1-year deal. How important is it for this organization to bring back Byard as it continues to grow towards being a Super Bowl team?
Well, it depends on the confidence they would have in others. And right now we see the corner position for the Bears as one that is exceptionally deep. Safety, we don't know who necessarily would be that individual to step in if Kevin Byard weren't here anymore. And the great thing that we've seen is his playmaking ability. And so when you have that as a part of this defense, especially when you're playing on a defense where the defensive line isn't overwhelming the opponent consistently, having that guile and that playmaking at safety means a lot. So I think Kevin Byard has certainly shown there's going to be continued value.
Yeah, and you can't understate the value he brings in the locker room, being a veteran and leader on that team. Time for your player to watch, brought to you by IGS Energy. Lou, it's your week.
I'm going with Kyle Monangai. 13 games, already he's rushed for over 600 yards. Ben Johnson, takes a little bit of time for Ben Johnson to trust his rookies. He's trusting this rookie right now. A quarter of his carries have gone for a first down. That's excellent production from a first-year running back.
Yeah, and Kyle Monangai said it doesn't hurt any different if you're getting hit in the cold or in the heat. It hurts regardless. It's basically like a car crash. Remember, Lou said he's actually going to take my spot on Sunday and go out in the cold, right? Yeah?
Did I say that, Big A?
So get your hand warmers, foot warmers. I got a heated vest. We're going to be all bundled up. It's going to be fun. It's part of the experience. If you're going out to Soldier Field, make sure you are dressed for the occasion. That is it for this week's edition of Bears Blitz. We'll see you Sunday morning for Bears Game Day Live.